Hey everybody, Bill here, Blitzmolin Fab. I'm back. I'm in the garage working on mounting my Terminator computer. I want to mount it in the glove box of my 55. So what I have is I bought a new glove box, and it's kind of a cardboard, I don't know, it's got something in it, some lining in it. It's kind of a different type of material. But I bought this box and I put it in, and first of all, I cut the back out of it to kind of set the computer in, lay in there, measured about where I wanted it mounted. And so, you know, I had it kind of laying in here like this. But once I got it in the car, the glove box sits kind of like this on a big time angle when it's bolted in, and it looks really weird because you can kind of see the bottom of the box hanging down. And so I decided to go in a different direction and kind of cut a little off the top of this box. There was a flap that hangs right here across this front. Kind of cut a little bit of this off. I'm using it more as a template for anything than anything, but I kind of just thought, you know what, I think what I'm going to do is just move away from that. These things are real cheap. They're not expensive at all. I think it was 12 bucks or 8 bucks or something like that. So it wasn't really expensive. But I think what I'm going to do is I just took a piece of steel and cut out a square. And yesterday I was kind of messing around and I cut this, and this matches up with the holes that are right here in the bottom of the glove box door. So the glove box door would kind of set here, and I kind of started to mess around a little bit to see if I could just put this in and maybe, you know, bend it right here, you know, just kind of bend it up a little bit and just kind of use it as a support for the glove box, you know, to hold the glove box up straight. But it's really not working out great. So what I'm doing is I cut another piece, and I've got it here, and I'm going to kind of jump in the car, see if I can't set it in where the glove box goes, and mark these 3 holes, and then take the computer and set the computer down on it and see if I can't just mount it on a flat plate instead of using the actual glove box to do it. So that's where I'm headed. I'll be back. Okay, so I've got a panel that will fit right across the whole length of my glove box, and kind of here's how my glove box door will kind of sit on top of it, and so it'll close, and that plate should sit right behind it the full length of the door. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is putting some type of a side bracket up here, because there are a couple of screws like in the original glove box. There's 2 places on the sides here, right here and over here on the other side right here, where there's actually support screws and there's holes, and on the glove box assembly they're like right in here on both sides. So I'll probably end up putting some braces like off of this, you know, off of this flat plate, you know, just coming up here on the side. So I'll have to look at it. Right now I'm going to drill holes. I'm going to drill these 3 holes, and then I'm going to see if I can't fit it, and if it doesn't fit in there decent. And this is where, you know, my computer will just set here, and I've kind of got it set just, you know, just to where it's going to catch the bolts on the back. It doesn't need to sit flush on this plate. So what I kind of figured is when my glove box door sets here, that I'll just have the computer you know, just setting right up kind of next to where that is, so that I can open my glove box, still be able to get to these screws. And I'm going to put some kind of spacers under this also, maybe a couple little pieces of rubber or something like that, some kind of rubber isolators. Don't know if I really have to. When I mounted it originally, I used these. These are just little plastic, I don't know what they are, furniture spacers or something like that. And I use those. But I think I'm going to just put some isolators just to bring it up off the plate just a hair. If nothing else, it'll give it a little bit of air movement underneath it so it doesn't get hot sitting flat against this plate. So I'm going to go ahead and drill these holes, and then we'll see how it fits inside. Okay, so I've got the plate to fit up here in the holes. I've got it matched up. I got my holes drilled and matched up, and there's like a raised there's a raised edge right here and right here. And so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to clearance this plate just a little bit here and a little bit over here. So I'm going to try to just cut a little bit out of the edge of the plate, and so I can get the plate to slide further forward so that they'll match up with the holes. I could have drilled the holes closer to the edge. I kind of knew this was like this. I could see it, but I also thought that I should make the plate fit tight in there. So that's where I'm headed next. Okay, I've got the throatless shear out, and I've got my plate marked, and all I need to do is I need to remove this, and I need to remove this. This is my starting point, just to clearance this plate a little bit, and just to move these bolt holes up to where they will mount right. So this is what I'm going to use to cut these off. I made a video about this thing. I really love this tool. It's a very, very cool tool. So what you do is kind of chuck it up in the throat, and there you go. It slices the metal out of the way. So see if I can't just cut this off. Right here, fairly straight. So like I say, you know, I'll probably take a flap disc to this and straighten it up. This isn't really thick steel. It's pretty flimsy. So I mean, the computer is probably going to move a little bit, but I really think that once I put my side pieces on here, I think it'll really stiffen the thing up a lot. More than what it needs to. The computer is not heavy at all, so really not worried about, really not worried about issues with the computer being too heavy. Wonder if I should have marked it on this other side. I kind of have to be careful. You have to be careful where you put this. Sometimes it doesn't like to cut, where if you don't have enough metal out here, sometimes it'll just want to roll it. I'll try it. I was going to mark it on the other side so that I could have the majority of my metal out here where I can kind of hold it, but I'll give it a shot and see if it works, see if it cuts it. Yeah, see, it's cutting it, but it's kind of trying to roll it too, just because it doesn't have a whole lot of metal. So I'm just going to pull this off, and then I'm going to hit these with a flap disc and just kind of clean up these edges a little bit, and I'll be right back. Okay, well, I cleaned up the edges of the screw holes and put this in, and clearancing those just that little bit just kind of really helped make that bracket fit, or the plate fit, I mean, not the bracket. So I've got it mounted in here. It's still sitting a little bit of a down angle. So what I'm going to do is, right here where these screws are, these are actually just tabs. And so I'm going to go and take this plate off, and I'm going to bend these tabs up just a little bit until they're straight. Because in order to make my side pieces that I'm going to make, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some pieces that go from here to just kind of hold this plate. See how this plate wants to flex itself a little bit? And putting the glove box door on is going to help, because it's going to have a piece of metal all the way across here, and the glove box door is going to go right on top of this plate. So that's going to help, but I definitely want this plate just kind of sitting straight up. I don't want it you know, angled way down. Like I said, when I had the glove box in there, it was angled way down. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to take this plate out, and I'm going to bend those tabs up, and then I'm going to start looking at mounting my computer on this plate. So that's what I'll do next. Okay, I'm back on the bench. What I did is I took my glove box door and set my glove box door right here on the edge, and just kind of marked, you know, where my glove box door is, right where the flange of it is, kind of where it mounts. And then this is how I'm just going to set this in here and just kind of eyeball it. I mean, this doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be in my glove box. You're not going to see it. So, I mean, even when I open the glove box, all you're going to see is just the computer sitting here on a plate. So it doesn't have to be beautiful. So I've got that set pretty much. Looks, you know, it's pretty straight. I mean, I can measure it, see what I've got for a measurement. I've got about 1 1/8 and maybe 1 1/16 on that side. So I could probably go just a hair more. You know, to center it in the plate, but also I want to kind of keep it centered in the center of the, you know, where the glove box door opening is. This is centered, you know, right here in this panel. So I think this is a pretty good spot, spot to put it. So I'm going to go ahead and just mark these, and then I can drill some holes and then think about what I'm going to use to mount these. Like I said, I might cut some rubber pieces for some isolation. I have like a lot of different things. I looked at something like these. These are rubber plugs that go in the trunk of the 55 in the old trunk holes, you know, and I thought if these weren't so big, you know, I could set these, you know, underneath it, and, you know, use these for rubber isolators, but they're so big. I should be able to come up with something just to get this up. I just kind of want to get it up off the plate, just a hair off the metal, just so that it's not sitting flat on the metal. It'll you know, just put a little air gap in the underneath it, which I don't know if any of this is necessary. Just kind of thinking this is how I want to do it. So I'll be back. Okay, so I've got my holes drilled in my plate. So I've got my 4 holes, these 4 for the terminator, and these are the ones I made earlier for the glove box where the screws go through the glove box. I decided I've got this little thin piece of rubber sheet, and so I think I'm just going to cut a couple of rubber washers, and what I'm going to use is I have this hole punch kit, and so I think I'm going to just take this hole punch kit. What I did is kind of picked out a hole punch. If I can go over here and grab one of my bolts, kind of picked a hole punch where my bolt will go through it, so that'll be my inside diameter hole, and then just picked something a little bigger. So what I'll do is I'll punch 4 holes, and then I'll go on the outsides with this bigger one, and then I'll go ahead and you know, punch the whole washer, and I'll just make like 4 rubber isolation washers. And this is the piece that screws onto them, and it has a little centering piece in it, and then you just hit it with a hammer right here. So I'm going to take a block of wood, and I'm just going to punch myself out some washers. And this is a hole punch kit, and it's off of Amazon. So, and this is just, this isn't for metal or anything. This is just for mainly for rubber, for gaskets. It may be even labeled as a gasket punch, you know, or a gasket hole punch kit. But anyway, this is Amazon. I'll see if I can get a link and put a link to it on the video. Okay, my next step, I'm back. I cut 8 of these, just punched them out. Again, I punched them out with this tool out of just this little thin piece of rubber that I had. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 of those on each one of these holes, and then I'm going to mount this on top of it. And so that's how it's going to set. That's how it's going to mount. What I'm going to do now, before I mount this and get into this, is I've got to make my side pieces. And I'm probably going to model them something off of this. You know, this is the glove box door, and this is kind of how they had them. So what I'm probably going to do is just cut a couple of pieces of metal that kind of resemble this and weld them onto this plate, tack them onto this plate. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in the car right now and set this plate in and mount it, and maybe even take the rest of this glove box, since it kind of seems to be the donor, and maybe I'll just take and you know, just cut these off right here and use these for a kind of a template to get a piece of, you know, metal that I can cut and put on both sides of this plate. So I'll be back and I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, I've had this plate in the car and back out of the car, and what I figured is this is kind of what I cut out of a part of that glove box, and this needs to sit right here, and I even marked where the hole was and put a hole in this, and then this one needs to sit on this side right here. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm just cutting some pieces. I just kind of laid this down and marked out some pieces. So I'm just cutting some basic shapes, trying to keep this edge straight, because this edge is the edge that's going to just sit right here that I'm going to have to tack. I'm going to have to tack this edge right here. Sorry about that. But that's where that's going to tack on. And I marked it just because this is about where it has to sit. Now, once I get these things tacked on, I can always play around with them. Here's the other piece on the other side. I'm going to take these and just kind of hit them with a flap disc and just kind of smooth them. and you know, just make them into, you know, a couple of decent looking pieces. So this is what I figured out that I need right here. I need these for both sides. Like I said, one's gonna go here, one's gonna go over here, and then I'll have a hole in them right here, and I can put a screw, you know, a little nut and a bolt or something in there, and that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm moving forward. Next step, I'm gonna clean these up and make them look decent. Okay, everybody, I'm back. Been a few days. I finished up with this panel. I welded these side tabs onto it. I dimple dyed a couple holes into it just to kind of strengthen it up a little bit. And then out here on the outside, right here, and then over here on the other side, right here, I welded a couple of nuts onto it, just so that what I can do is I can set it up in my glove box and just put the screws in here and in here, and then put the 3 screws across here that the glove box door fits on, and then I'll have my mounting surface. And so what I'm going to do is the computer is going to mount just about like that, right there on it. And then my glove box door is going to sit right here on the front, just like that, so that when I open my glove box door, it will be sitting, the terminator will be sitting right there in front of me. So I'm going to go ahead and mount it. I've got a couple of I've got some rubber washers and some spacers. What I did is I took some rubber and I cut out some rubber washers, and then I've got some spacers that I'll use a spacer and a rubber washer on both sides like this, and then I'll mount it up on this plate. So it'll mount it just up off of the plate a little bit. So get a little air gap, give it a little bit of room. I don't know if it'll help keep it cool or if it's even necessary, but that's what I'm gonna do. I'll be back. All right, I'm back. So I've got them bolted up just like this over here. Put a rubber washer, spacer, rubber washer, and then just put the bolt through. So kind of lifts it up off of the plate, gives it an inch and a quarter or so, and then these are the screws right here, this one and this one over here. Those are the screws that I'm gonna put into the glove box. And then right here, like I said again, across the front is where the 3 screws right here in the glove box are gonna go, the glove box door. And so I'm gonna get that all bolted in, and I'll be right back and show you how it looks. Okay, I'm back. I have my computer and I've got it mounted on the plate. I don't know if you guys can see it. And I'm plugging in my harnesses here in the back, and I'm gonna go ahead and mount it into the glove box. And like I talked about, these 3 screws right here hold it, and also right here on this side and right here on this side, there's screws where I told you that I came off my bracket right here and welded these nuts on the side. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and wrangle this thing up through the back and get some screws in here and get my glove box door on. Okay, I've got the plugs in it and I've got it mounted in the glove box. I have the glove box door on. Worked real good with my screws that I put on both sides, and then the 3 screws here in the front that you can see. So when I open my glove box, I'll be able to see the lights to make sure everything is okay, or I believe error codes or something that it'll flash. I'm not really sure. haven't fully read the manual. So one of the things I did when earlier, I don't know if you guys can see, right in here, I had my spacers. Let me see if I can get around here. I had my spacers in here and had this thing spaced up about 1 inch. And it was actually hitting in the back right here. It's the air duct, the air vent duct, and the computer was hitting on the air duct. So what I had to do is I had to take those spacers out of there, and I just had to put the rubber washers. So all I did is left the 2 rubber washers on my plate and went ahead and plugged all the plugs in, just because it's easier than trying to sneak under there and get them in there with the computer out. I can reach my hand up in there if I want to. I put my arm back behind it. There is room to unplug it. So that's my computer mounted. So I'm going to move on.